Hello class, and welcome to another R video session. In this short video, we're going to be continuing our work within data frames, recoding variables or beginning introducing the recoding of variables, and then in turn introducing a really important package, dplyr. So grab a beverage, get comfortable, let's get started. Okay, so we are in our studio. We have collected some raw data. Now we want to analyze it based on the research design that we have very carefully specified. How do we do this? Well, it might seem simple at the surface, but practically when we take a look at our raw data, it often needs to be cleaned, recoded, reshaped in a way that can be tractable for us to analyze in practical terms. For instance, a great example is how when we did as a class our large N observational survey, we had respondents use a text box to report what their gender is. So some folks said, man, all in lowercase. Some folks wrote woman, uppercase in the beginning and then the rest lowercase. All of this, or some people wrote, non-binary. Some people wrote like waffle, you could write whatever, anything that they wanted. So when looking at these variables, thinking about how to analyze it and fit folks into gender categories that we can use practically within some kind of statistical model, right, for a large N observational research design, we need to figure out how to recode that variable so that we can use it. And so in order to do that, we often use a really crucial package called dplyr. And dplyr offers us a series of really important tools that can help us manage and manipulate, reorder, filter, rearrange both full data frames as well as individual variables. We can do complex calculations across variables, between variables, within variables even, that would be otherwise, without the dplyr package, really complicated to code and to thus program. So let's dive in.
All right, here we are back in R. Welcome to R Studio. This is a script that I have created ahead of time, and I am actually using the extra padding script, our exercise script that was assigned for your class, but we can use this to really get into how we can recode. So as you can see, I have an R script up here. I did so by clicking the new file and creating and selecting script. And then I saved it as the extra padding R script, and I actually saved this one for video. You can hover and see the address. So our first step, as always now, is to just load some packages that we know we're going to be using, right? And so I can highlight these, click Control Enter, and as we see, oh, thanks R, it just loaded all of my programs, so now I can use all of these packages moving forward, which I'm going to do right out of the gate by uploading and renaming the data as a data frame into my R environment. Right now, if we look down here, this is my working directory, and I see that I have saved in the working directory. I have saved our data that we're going to be using from our large N observational study. I've saved it as PALS 300-large-N-study.csv. So I take that exact wording and I use the command read CSV, and then I put in quotations the name of the data, the file from the working directory that I want to use, right? So this says to R, hey, go to the working directory, find this file that's in quotations, this is the name, find that, and read it as a CSV and create a data frame from it. So if I highlight this, gives me some descriptive elements down here. And as we can see, we see the D, I just named it as D, in my environment on my countertop. This does the, instead of loading this by hand, which I could do, I could just do this manually and do import data set. then if I were to do that, as you can see here, it's retrieving the data preview. This is what it would look like. And this is essentially, you see reCSV, that's the script I'm going to do. If I were to import it, now it'll show me a preview of it here. Now the data frame is going to have this long name, right? And then I'd have to then use another line of code to rename it by saying essentially this. D2, we'll call it. And then I'll just write it again. Walls, right? And it'll fill in there, enter. And then I could rename it by saying, hey, take all that and put it in this container named D2. So then that would be there, right? But I don't need to do that if I can just simplify it into one line of code by saying read CSV and put it into the container dat. Now, I'm going to take a look at this using my command glimpse, right? Just to take a look at the variables in their first observations. What am I glimpsing? D, the whole data frame, right? And then I can see down here in the console what everything is named. Now, what I'm after right now, I'm going to be recoding our variable called the gender variable, which, as you can recall, in our survey, we just asked, what is your gender? And we had the respondents fill it in a text box, meaning they could write whatever they wanted, which is going to cause a problem for us, as we'll see. But right now, this is named, what is your gender, right? So I, first of all, copied and pasted that right under here, just so I know what it's called. And I'm going to save this. Always just keep on clicking Control Save. Now I'm going to rename that variable by simply taking it, what I saw the name was, and just saying, you know what? Create another variable called gender in this data frame D, right? So I say D money sign gender, and what goes into that new variable, which it'll just create, it'll add momentarily. You'll see we have 23 variables up here in D. But if I say take everything from there and throw it into this new one called gender, now you see up here, D has 24 variables. And now I can just, this is essentially taking everything from this variable, throwing it into this variable, but now it's called gender. Now my next step is to look at what is actually in this gender variable, right? And see how I'm able to work with that. The way we can do that is by using the command table. And essentially it's going to do a count of every unique character string, because we know this is a character based on the glimpse, it says. So it's going to tell me a table and a count, every unique character string that's in this entire variable. See down here, that's what it's done, right? We have 14 respondents that just said female, right? But then we also had 54 respondents that said female with a capital F, right? We have genderqueer, we have one Jewish, we have one she, her using the pronouns, we have an F, we have a demi-deer, cis woman, lowercase woman, uppercase woman, we have male and uppercase male, right? So we have a lot of different variations on here. And we want to figure out how we can create a categorical variable out of all of this character string variable. So how do we do that? Well, our first step, see, because we have female and lowercase female, so some of these are in fact exactly the same, but they differ only in the fact that some are uppercase and some are lowercase. I can fix that right out of the gate by making everything uppercase. Now to do that, and you see I copy pasted the notes here, change the new gender variable to all uppercase. I can just use this command here, to upper, all one word, and in the parentheses, it's like, what am I changing to all upper? The D gender, right? This is the variable gender within the data frame D, right? And if I do that and then put it just right back into gender, it'll just transform this gender variable that I had previously into all uppercase. So let's try that. Watch. Now it says, okay, cool, it's done. We shouldn't see any major change, but maybe I want to look, I want to check what it looks like now. I can do that once again by looking at table, right? And that'll count the number of unique character strings that are within there. And you see already we have less, and they're all uppercase, right? So female and female here, those became one. Male and male, those became one. woman and woman, those became one, right? So now on the woman, we have 4 as opposed to we had 2 and 2. So that was already very helpful. But then we still need to recode everything to be in a, like, a categorical variable. Maybe we want to do woman, man, and non-binary, right? So to do that, I'm just going to first just show you how to recode the variable to woman, right? And I'm going to take all of these that are female leaning in any way that I feel I can categorize. And this is where the researcher's subjectivity comes in. I'm going to make a call about who I want to include into this woman category. And I'm going to take all of them and write them all out and tell R that if it says this, it now needs to be woman, right? To do that, I use this very handy a very handy command called recode, which is a function within the package dplyr, right? Remembering that above here. I'm just going to double check, just like run that again to make sure I'm using dplyr.
Hello, class. It's me here in the little circle. I'm just stopping in our RStudio session to mention briefly a little more about dplyr. dplyr as a package, right? If we're continuing with our analogy of the kitchen and getting packages is like kind of buying a whole bulk of new tools and putting them in, allowing R to use them in the kitchen. dplyr is akin, getting dplyr and loading that package into your R session is like attaching R and your whole kitchen to like an entire Williams-Sonoma. It is a huge, huge package with so many cool commands that, I mean, I don't even know all of them. The point is not that you know all of them, right? Reorder is one, but there are many, right? And the point is not that you know all of these commands, but instead that you can recognize the syntax, the way dplyr is, operating and how you can see it within the code, and understanding that it allows you to go through observation by observation through variables and to do complex data manipulations such that you can use one data frame and maybe even sometimes more than one data frame to reshape, build new, reformat, mutate, not just variables, but entire like data sets. So thinking about how to work within data and what we need to program within our data set to create or reshape or recode variables, you have an entire world of opportunity opening for you with the use of dplyr. So let's just get back to it.
And now what I can do here is I'm going to create a new variable, gender recode, just to keep things clear so that, I can see the difference for our purposes, for teaching purposes, as well as for just like, I just want to know the difference between the old gender variable and this new recoded gender variable. I want to keep both on the record, right? And so I want what dplyr can do that R usually can't do, or it will be a little bit more tricky to program, is it's going to go through observation by observation this entire variable, searching one by one for anything that looks like this, and then changing it to woman. And then anything that's just this, and changing it to woman. And then anything that looks like this, and then changing it to woman. Again and again and again. That would require step by step by step programming in usual R, but dplyr gives it the sort of really cool ability, new superpower, to do this all in one command. So I'm going to run that code. Done. Now look over here, you see I have 25 variables. That makes sense because I created this new one. And I'm going to examine the new gender recode variable with the table command. And see, now again, I have far less than I used to. Up here I have more unique character strings. Now I have less. All of those ones that I included as coding for woman have disappeared. And now all we have are 75 women, which total all of these together. But I still have all these other different ones, so I want to keep on recoding that. Now to do that, I'm going to kind of send you guys out on the wild to do it on your own. And I know I have confidence that you can do this.
Okay, so hopefully that just gets us started. Now, this helps us recode just one variable that might be text, right? Coming from different variations of character strings to a more a simplified and easier to manage categorical variable that we can use in an analysis. But the opportunities for cleaning, changing, rearranging, really doing all kinds of things with dplyr, these opportunities are vast and difficult to even imagine or to cover in one video. So as you continue to use dplyr, as we continue to explore what we need and can do within our data frames and with our data, we will learn more and more in a kind of like never-ending trajectory of what dplyr can do, because dplyr is one of the literal most important packages for any kind of researcher or political scientist using R. So thanks for watching. Feel free to rewatch if you need to, and I will see you next time.